Imagine this. It's midnight. The world is silent. Everyone else is asleep. But one student, somewhere, is still awake. Eyes tired, but heart burning with purpose. The clock keeps ticking, but he doesn't stop. He turns one more page, writes one more line, solves one more problem. Because deep inside, he knows. Legends are not born in comfort. They are built in silence. They are shaped in nights like this. My dear students, today I'm not here to tell you to study hard. I'm here to tell you to study like a legend, with fire, with focus, and with faith. Because if you want to achieve greatness, you must learn to study not just for marks, but for mastery, not just for exams, but for excellence. So, sit back, because today's message might just change the way you study forever. Chapter 1. The Ordinary Student. There was once a student named Ethan, a quiet boy who blended easily into the background of his classroom. He wasn't the topper, not the student teachers called on first, nor the one everyone turned to for answers. He was simply average, not failing, not excelling, just existing in that wide, unnoticed middle ground. When exam results came back, his marks were always the same. Not terrible, but never enough to make anyone proud. His name was never announced in assemblies. His report card never made it to the school notice board. And though he laughed with friends and smiled in class, deep inside, he carried a quiet sadness. The kind that grows when you keep trying, yet never seem to shine. Every day after school, Ethan would walk home with his friends. They'd talk about movies, games, and plans for the weekend. But when the conversation shifted to grades or future dreams, Ethan would fall silent. He didn't know what to say. He admired the students who spoke confidently about becoming doctors, engineers, or pilots. In his mind, he always thought, maybe that life isn't for me. Maybe I'm just not that smart. One afternoon, after another disappointing math test, Ethan sat at his desk staring at his paper. Red marks everywhere, mistakes circling his thoughts like heavy clouds. He felt frustration burning inside him. When he reached home, he threw his bag onto the floor and shouted, "What's the point of trying? No matter how much I study, I never get the best marks." His mother sighed quietly, unsure how to comfort him. But his father, who had been watching from the corner of the room, walked over slowly. He placed a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder and said, "Son, do you think legends are born knowing everything? No. Legends are made, and they are made the moment they stop saying, 'I can't,' and start saying, 'I will.'" Those words struck something deep in Ethan's heart. That night, long after everyone had gone to bed, he sat alone in his small study corner. The room was dimly lit by a single bulb. The air was quiet, except for the soft sound of pages turning. He opened his notebook, took a deep breath, and whispered to himself, "From today, I will study like a legend." At that moment, nothing dramatic happened. No thunder, no applause, no miracles. But something invisible shifted within him. For the first time, Ethan wasn't studying to prove anything to anyone. He was studying to change himself. And that single decision, made in silence, was the beginning of his transformation. Because every legend, before they rise, begins exactly like Ethan, ordinary, uncertain, but brave enough to take the first step. Chapter 2. The Decision. Every great journey begins with a single decision. Not a loud declaration, not a social media post, not a promise made in front of others, but a quiet commitment whispered only to yourself. A true decision doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with focus. It happens in that private moment when you look at your life and say, "Enough. I'm ready to change." That's exactly what happened to Ethan. The night he sat under that dim light, staring at his notebook, something awakened inside him, a spark that had been waiting for years to burn bright. The next morning, Ethan didn't suddenly turn into a genius. He still felt sleepy in class, still got confused with math formulas, and still made spelling mistakes. But something was different now. He no longer studied because teachers told him to. He no longer opened his books because he was afraid of failing. He studied because he wanted to grow, because somewhere deep in his heart, he had decided to become unstoppable. That decision, quiet, invisible, and deeply personal, became the turning point of his life. In the following days, Ethan noticed something he had never seen before: how easily most students gave up, how many people complained about hard work, and how few truly pushed themselves. He realized that the difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary isn't talent, it's intention. The ordinary study to survive, the extraordinary study to evolve. Ethan made up his mind that he would no longer ask, "How much should I study?" Instead, he asked, "How much can I grow today?" That single shift changed everything. He began studying with a new kind of energy, not rushing, not forcing, but learning with purpose. Each page became a promise, each word a step forward. He started setting small goals, finishing one chapter a day, revising before bed, waking up a little earlier each morning. He didn't do it for applause or grades. He did it because he wanted to look in the mirror and respect the person he saw. And that's where true success begins, when your goal is not to impress, but to improve. When your motivation is not fear, but faith. Because you can't study like a legend if your only aim is to pass an exam. Legends study to transform themselves, to rise higher, think deeper, and become stronger than they were yesterday. That night, Ethan didn't just choose to study, he chose to become. And from that moment on, every decision he made carried the power of that quiet promise, the decision to grow into his greatest version. Chapter 3: The Mindset of a Legend. Do you know what truly separates ordinary students from legends? It's not IQ, it's not luck, it's not even talent. It's mindset, the way they think, the way they see challenges, and the way they respond when things don't go their way. The ordinary student studies because they fear failure. The legend studies because they believe in growth. The ordinary says, "What if I can't?" The legend says, "What if I can?" That one small difference, fear versus faith, creates an ocean between the two. Ethan began to understand this truth slowly. He realized that every time he felt afraid of exams or worried about low marks, it was because he was focusing on results, not learning. So, he decided to flip his mindset. Instead of saying, "I have to study," he began saying, "I get to study." That small change made his learning feel like a privilege, not a punishment. He began to see his books not as burdens, but as tools. Tools that could build his dream life if he used them right. One day, after receiving another disappointing grade in science, Ethan didn't react the way he used to. He didn't throw his notebook aside or complain that life was unfair. He sat quietly and began analyzing his mistakes. He looked at every question he got wrong and asked himself, "What can I learn from this?" It was difficult, even painful, but he stayed patient. And when he saw improvement in the next test, he realized something powerful. Failure wasn't his enemy. It was his greatest teacher. That's the secret most students never learn. Failure isn't the end. It's feedback. It's a mirror showing you what to fix, where to grow, and how to rise higher. Every legend in history, every topper, every achiever, every inventor, has faced failure, often more than anyone else. The difference? They didn't stop there. They used failure as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. From that day forward, Ethan made a new rule for himself. Whenever he failed, he would not say, "I'm not good enough." Instead, he would say, "I'm not done yet." Those 5 words became his shield, his fuel, his reminder that growth takes time. And slowly, his mindset began to shift from doubt to determination. Because that's what the mindset of a legend is. Not perfection, but persistence. Not fear, but faith that every mistake is shaping you into someone unstoppable. Chapter 4. The Power of Consistency. Every legend understands one fundamental rule that ordinary students often overlook. Consistency beats intensity. It doesn't matter if you push yourself to study for 10 hours straight one day if you spend the next 3 days doing nothing. That burst of effort, no matter how heroic, will eventually fade into nothing. Real progress is not measured by the hours you cram, but by the habits you build. It is the daily, steady commitment that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Legends know this instinctively, even if the world doesn't always notice. Ethan learned this lesson the hard way. In his early school days, he believed in last-minute effort. Before exams, he would stay up late for hours, poring over textbooks, trying to memorize formulas, definitions, and concepts. He thought that these intense study sessions were enough to secure success. But almost every time, exhaustion would take over, his mind would fog, and the results never matched the effort. He was frustrated, wondering why hard work alone didn't seem to pay off. That's when he realized something crucial. Working hard without consistency is like running in place. All energy, no progress. Determined to change, Ethan decided to adopt a new approach. Instead of cramming, he began dedicating just 2 focused hours every day to his studies. No distractions, no shortcuts, just steady, honest effort. At first, it felt slow. Progress wasn't instant. But over weeks, a remarkable transformation began. His understanding of concepts deepened. What seemed difficult before started making sense. His confidence grew steadily, and the anxiety that had plagued him during exams gradually disappeared. He discovered that consistent effort wasn't merely effective, it was miraculous. Consistency, Ethan realized, was like water dripping on stone. Each small drop alone seemed insignificant, yet over time, the persistent flow carved through even the hardest rock. The same applies to study. Small, daily actions, repeated with discipline, accumulate into unstoppable results. Waiting for motivation is a trap because motivation is fleeting. Discipline, not inspiration, is the true engine of growth. So, if you want to study like a legend, understand this. It is not the hours you burn, but the days you show up that define your success. Every small effort matters. Every day counts. Build the habit, honor the process, and watch yourself rise higher than you ever imagined. Because legends are not made in bursts of genius. They are forged in the steady rhythm of consistent, deliberate effort. Chapter 5. The Art of Focus. Let's be honest, in today's world, distractions are everywhere. They are like tiny thieves, quietly stealing your time, energy, and attention. Phones buzz every few minutes, social media pulls you into endless scrolling, notifications scream for your attention, and casual chatter or noise surrounds you constantly. In such a world, even the most motivated students can lose their way. But every legend knows a crucial truth. Focus is more valuable than time. Without it, all the hours you spend studying can vanish into nothing, leaving no real progress. Ethan, in his early days, struggled with focus. He would sit at his desk, determined to study, only to find himself checking his phone every few minutes, listening to music while reading, or drifting off into daydreams. His mind was full of noise, and every time he tried to concentrate, something would pull him away. It was exhausting, frustrating, and discouraging. He wanted to learn, but distractions made him feel powerless, as if no matter how hard he tried, he would never make real progress. One afternoon, his mentor noticed Ethan's struggle and said something that changed everything. "Ethan," he said, "your dream is calling you, but you can't hear it because your mind is too noisy." Those words struck Ethan like a lightning bolt. For the first time, he understood that it wasn't lack of talent or effort holding him back. It was his inability to focus. That night, he made a powerful decision. He would protect his focus like it was treasure. He set a simple rule for himself: 1 hour of deep, uninterrupted study every day, with no phone, no music, no distractions. At first, it was challenging. Every few minutes, he wanted to check messages or scroll online, but he resisted. Slowly, day by day, that 1 hour became easier. Eventually, he extended it to 2 hours, fully immersed in his studies. And then, something remarkable happened. He began to experience flow, that magical state where time disappears, learning feels effortless, and understanding comes naturally. Concepts that once seemed difficult now clicked. Retention improved, and studying became exciting rather than exhausting. This is the secret of legends. They don't study longer, they study deeper. Focus is their weapon. Protecting it allows them to make every minute of study count. And the best part? Once you train your mind to concentrate, this power carries over into every area of life. Exams, projects, even personal growth. Ethan learned that mastering focus is not about perfection, but persistence. And with persistence, the art of focus becomes the bridge between ordinary effort and legendary results. Chapter 6. Study smart, not just hard-working. Hard is important, no doubt. It takes dedication, persistence, and sacrifice. But working hard alone is not enough to become a legend. There are countless students who spend hours memorizing pages, writing notes endlessly, and cramming late into the night, yet struggle to truly understand or retain what they've studied. Ethan realized that simply putting in time wasn't going to make him extraordinary. He needed to study smart, to learn in a way that allowed knowledge to stick, to connect ideas, and to apply what he learned in real life. Ethan decided to completely change his study approach. Instead of passively reading textbooks, he began to actively engage with the material. He summarized his notes in his own words, forcing himself to truly grasp the concepts rather than just copying them. He started teaching what he learned to his younger brother. Explaining a topic out loud, in simple language, helped him identify gaps in his own understanding. He also adopted active recall, testing himself repeatedly instead of mindlessly rereading the same pages. This method, though challenging, strengthened his memory and sharpened his mind. When it came to science, Ethan used visualization techniques. He imagined chemical reactions happening inside test tubes, visualized planets spinning in the solar system, and pictured atoms colliding in motion. For history, he didn't just memorize dates and events. He imagined himself living in those times, walking through ancient streets, witnessing historical moments firsthand. This immersive approach made learning alive and unforgettable. For English, he practiced daily, reading aloud, writing essays, speaking sentences, and engaging with the language in multiple ways. Each practice session became more effective because it combined effort with understanding. The results were remarkable. The more Ethan practiced these smart study methods, the faster his progress became. He understood concepts more deeply, retained information longer, and could solve problems more confidently. He realized that legends don't just memorize facts, they master them. Memorization is temporary, but mastery is permanent. It allows you to use knowledge creatively, to think critically, and to solve challenges that no one has prepared you for. Ethan's journey taught him an important truth. Working smart multiplies the value of every hour you spend studying. Hard work alone can take you only so far, but smart work, combined with effort, focus, and discipline, can make you unstoppable. That is the secret of every student who rises above the ordinary. To study like a legend is not just to work hard, but to work intelligently, to engage fully, and to transform knowledge into lasting power. Chapter 7. The Struggle Phase. But let's be honest, every journey worth taking comes with struggle. No legend ever rose to greatness without facing challenges, doubts, and obstacles along the way. Ethan experienced this more than once. There were days when he felt completely exhausted, when his body refused to cooperate, and his mind seemed heavy with fatigue. He would sit at his desk staring at his books, knowing he should study, but unable to summon the energy to concentrate. Other days, everything seemed confusing. Formulas blurred together, historical events tangled in his mind, and English vocabulary refused to stick. On such days, his mind whispered quietly but persistently, "Just give up. You'll never make it." But Ethan had learned a lesson from his father that stayed with him like a guiding star. His father's words rang in his ears whenever he felt weak. Legends are made when they refuse to stop. Those words reminded him that struggle is not the end. It is part of the process. Even when he was tired, he forced himself to open his notebook. Even when the words on the page seemed meaningless, he read them aloud, rewrote them, and tried again. Even when he doubted himself, he kept a small flame of belief alive in his heart, refusing to extinguish it. The struggle phase is difficult because it tests every part of you, your patience, your discipline, and your faith in yourself. But it is also where true strength is forged. True strength does not reveal itself when everything is easy, when energy flows freely, or when results come quickly. No, true strength shows up when you feel weak, when motivation fades, and when the easiest choice is to quit. Yet you push forward anyway. It is in these moments, in the quiet battles fought alone, that legends are created. If you are struggling today, do not be discouraged. Struggle is not a sign that you are failing. It is a signal that you are growing. Each tired night, each confusing concept, each moment of doubt is shaping you, molding you, preparing you for something greater. You are in the making phase of your legend story. Remember, every great achiever, every topper, every person you admire has walked through this phase. They too felt exhausted, lost, and uncertain. But they persevered. And so will you. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Keep putting in the effort, even when it feels small or insignificant. Because it is in this struggle, in these quiet, difficult moments, that the foundations of your legend are being built. Your story of greatness begins not when everything is easy, but when you refuse to stop, even when it's hardest. Chapter 8. The Turning Point. One day, the moment Ethan had been quietly working toward finally arrived, his exam results were announced. As he held the paper in his hands, his heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. He had put in countless hours of focused study, endured long nights, faced moments of doubt, and struggled through frustration after frustration. Yet, nothing could have prepared him for the overwhelming feeling that washed over him as he saw his marks. For the first time in his life, Ethan had scored among the top 5 students in his class. His classmates cheered, teachers smiled, and even the principal gave him a nod of approval. Everyone seemed to notice his success. But Ethan knew that the real victory was something far deeper than numbers on a sheet of paper. The transformation that had taken place within him was invisible to others, but it was undeniable. Ethan had become confident. He no longer doubted his abilities the way he used to. He had learned how to focus, how to concentrate deeply, and how to keep going even when the journey seemed impossible. He had discovered the power of discipline, the quiet, steady commitment to showing up every day, no matter how small the effort felt. These qualities, once dormant, were now a permanent part of him. More importantly, Ethan realized that studying wasn't just about grades or rankings. It wasn't about proving something to teachers, parents, or peers. It was about personal growth, about becoming stronger, sharper, and more capable than he had been the day before. Each hour spent studying, each concept mastered, and each challenge overcome had contributed to this transformation. His knowledge had grown, but so had his character, his patience, and his resilience. That night, standing in front of the mirror, Ethan smiled at his reflection. For the first time, he didn't just see a student. He saw a person who had fought through struggles, made wise decisions, and refused to give up. He whispered to himself, "I didn't just study. I became stronger." That realization filled him with pride and quiet joy, a feeling far more powerful than any grade could ever provide. This, Ethan understood, is what studying like a legend truly means. It is not the marks, the praise, or the recognition that define a legend. It is the transformation that happens within, the growth of character, the development of discipline, focus, and confidence. When you study with purpose, when you embrace challenges, and when you commit to becoming better every single day, you achieve something far greater than a number on a paper. You become unstoppable. You become legendary. Chapter 9. The Bigger Purpose. You see, legends don't study just to impress others. They don't measure their worth by grades alone, or by the applause of teachers, parents, or peers. A legend understands that true learning has a purpose far greater than self-recognition. They study to impact the world, to become the kind of person who can contribute meaningfully, solve problems, and inspire others along the way. Knowledge, when used wisely, becomes a tool not only for personal success, but for making life better for those around you. Ethan began to understand this lesson as his confidence and skills grew. It wasn't enough for him to excel alone. He realized that his journey had value only if he could share it with others. So, he started helping students who were struggling, the ones who reminded him of his past self, confused, tired, and unsure of their potential. He shared his notes, explained concepts patiently, and offered encouragement to those who felt hopeless. Whenever someone doubted themselves, Ethan would say, "If I can do it, so can you." These words were more than motivation. They were a testament to the fact that success is not about talent alone, but about persistence, strategy, and mindset. As he continued to mentor others, Ethan noticed something remarkable. Helping others didn't take away from his own growth. It enhanced it. Explaining ideas forced him to think more clearly, reflect more deeply, and understand concepts even better. His own knowledge became stronger, and his confidence multiplied. More importantly, he discovered the joy that comes from lifting someone else, from inspiring courage, and from showing that ordinary students could achieve extraordinary results if they committed to the process. This, Ethan realized, is the heart of a legend. Not arrogance, but inspiration. Not competition, but contribution. A true legend does not hoard knowledge, wealth, or recognition. They spread it, share it, and use it to create opportunities for others. They understand that greatness is measured not only by personal achievements, but also by the lives they touch and the positive change they create. So, the purpose of studying like a legend is not merely to excel in exams or earn praise. It is to transform yourself and, through your transformation, to transform others. Every lesson learned, every hour invested, every obstacle overcome becomes more meaningful when it serves a bigger purpose. Legends study not just to succeed, they study to lead, inspire, and uplift everyone around them, leaving a legacy far greater than themselves. Chapter 10. The legacy. Years later, Ethan's name was still remembered, not because he had the highest IQ, nor because he was the most naturally gifted student. People remembered him because of something far more powerful: his consistency, determination, and the way he inspired others. While others focused solely on marks or accolades, Ethan focused on building himself, step by step, day by day. He became a living example of what it truly means to study like a legend. Not someone who only achieves, but someone who transforms, perseveres, and uplifts those around him. Ethan didn't just pass exams. He built a mindset that became his greatest asset. A mindset that refused to be shaken by failure. A mindset that welcomed challenges as opportunities to grow, and a mindset that valued progress over perfection. Every test he faced, every difficult chapter he studied, and every moment of doubt he overcame contributed to this unshakable inner strength. Over time, people began to notice something remarkable about him. His calm confidence, his unwavering focus, and his ability to keep moving forward no matter how difficult the path became. This mindset spoke through his actions and his words. It whispered quietly in the hearts of those around him, "No matter where I start, I can rise." He believed in beginnings, no matter how small or humble, knowing that effort compounded over time would lead to greatness. It taught him resilience. No matter how many times I fail, I can learn. Failure became feedback, not defeat, and every setback became a step forward. And finally, it instilled a relentless drive. No matter how tough it gets, I can grow. Ethan learned that growth often comes disguised as struggle, and those who persevere through it are the ones who achieve true mastery. This is the essence of studying like a legend. It's not just about the knowledge you gain or the exams you pass. It's about the person you become in the process. Legends leave a legacy, not in the marks on a report card, but in the strength, discipline, and inspiration they leave behind. Ethan's story shows us that anyone can rise above ordinary circumstances by cultivating the right mindset, committing to consistent effort, and learning to grow from every experience. Years later, when people spoke of him, they didn't remember his grades. They remembered the lessons he embodied, the example he set, and the mindset he cultivated. That is the true legacy of a legend. A life that inspires, a mind that perseveres, and a story that proves that greatness is possible for anyone willing to commit fully to their growth. Ethan became more than a student. He became a symbol of what it means to study like a legend. Final message: become the legend of your own story. My brilliant students, remember this forever. The goal is not to be perfect. Perfection is an illusion, a moving target that can never truly be reached. The true goal is to be better than you were yesterday, to improve, even if only by a small step, each and every day. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be the smartest or the fastest. You just have to be genuine. Genuine in your effort, genuine in your purpose, and genuine in your commitment to growth. Study with gratitude. Every word you read, every lesson you learn, every concept you grasp is shaping the person you will become tomorrow. Treat each study session as a gift, an opportunity to build your mind and character. Study with passion, because learning is power, a power that no one can ever take away from you. And study with heart, because when you put your soul into your studies, you don't just pass exams, you break limits, push boundaries, and prepare yourself for greatness. Here on English Achieve Students Hub, we believe that true success is not measured by marks alone. One day, when success finds you, when people admire your discipline, your knowledge, and your calm confidence, they may call you a legend. But you will know the truth. You became a legend long before anyone else recognized it. The day you refused to quit. The day you believed in yourself. The day you decided to study like a legend. So, my dear students, don't study just to finish the syllabus. Study to build your story. Every page you open, every hour you dedicate, every challenge you overcome is preparing you for something extraordinary. The question is not, can you do it? The question is, will you give it everything you've got? Those who dare, those who commit with fire and faith, those who work even when no one is watching, they don't just pass. They rise. They shine. They become legends.